Hi, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. This channel is called Unbusy Living because that is what we are practicing. It's about my journey of trying to become unbusy in this world where everything's so crowded and so busy and live an intentional, meaningful life. Today, I will talk about a rather hard and maybe taboo topic. I have been chatting to so many people, and I think the way I am doing this is very creative. And I was encouraged by multiple people to share it with the world. So here I am. This episode is a little bit different than the others. This channel is about personal development. This episode will be about the byproduct, one of the perks, if you wish, of doing personal development. This is about how creative and confident I have become as a parent in being honest with my small children of 10 about intimacy, about how babies are made and born, and generally any topic that relates to the human body. It was unimaginable for me at a point in time to become someone who can talk so freely, be so honest, and translate truth in a child-friendly way onto their language and explain things in an age-appropriate way while not lying, also not brushing things under the carpet. One of my values is family. One of my other values is trust. And to be able to practice it inside my family as a mother, being family-centric and building trust in our family. This video will be about how I'm teaching my children about intimacy and everything to do with the human body, especially when it comes to things to do with sex, making babies, having babies, birthing babies. Because I think it's quite remarkable in my life, the shock that I got. I remember it when I found out the truth, and it started all kinds of emotions, feelings, and thoughts inside me. And it was a hard moment. And I was thinking so much how I could avoid my children having that moment when the light bulbs go on and they finally understand how the world works and they go, oh. So I just wanted to explain things in a way that I'm telling them the truth, but in age appropriate way. So that when the day comes, when all the light bulbs switch on and they go, oh, then everything will click, like all the dots will line up and they will see how I was telling them the truth throughout the stories that we have discussing that led them ultimately to the grown-up version of it. And I want them to have that moment of understanding that what she meant. And I want them to feel that on some level, they always knew how the human body works, how the world works, how our reproduction works. I want them to feel like, okay, mom told me the truth, and now I understand it fully, rather than, oh my gosh, it was a big lie, and now I'm having to deal with the harsh reality of things. So that's the idea. And I think personal development has a lot to do with this. It's being able to come up with these creative ways that I'm going to share with you to help you is not necessarily easy. So since it's Sunday, I just wanted to have a friendly chat with you, tell you how I've done things, and hopefully give you ideas of how you can do this too. I will also say that if you have your own traumas, limitations, and your own baggage around the topic, it will be very hard for you to do the same. As I say, I have processed a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of past traumas. I have worked on myself for 7 years plus, and I have overcome a lot in order to become the person who I am today. And the reason why I'm doing personal development, even the reason why I became a coach, I learned all the tools that I have today, was because of my family. Because parenting is the hardest things I ever had to do. And I wanted to make this a little bit easier for myself. At that stage, I never wanted to become a coach and talk to you about these things on camera. I just wanted to become a better version of myself so that I can be a better mother, a better parent for my children, and ultimately a better pillar in my family. That's probably the main reason why Unbusy Living exists. I'm trying to create an Unbusy Living so that I can give them quality time. I want to work on myself so I'm a better parent. and kind of all cascades down into why I'm doing this whole thing. So here we go. I'm going to cover 3 questions today. How are babies born? My story that I shared with my children that worked wonderfully. How are babies made? That was the next question I had to face from my little one. The most recent one was a funny one related to our private part. So I'm going to share the question later on, but we're going to talk about how you can explain why we have our private parts, what purpose they serve, and how we can explain everything in an age-appropriate way. My children are currently 4, 7, and 9. So of course you can adjust this. If you have younger children, this is a great video to watch to get ready for the future. I never force this conversation onto them. It all happened naturally. Typically, the time of the day when really weird questions come to the surface is the minute when I'm trying to leave their bedroom before bedtime. That is the best time for these kind of conversations to happen. I think it's safe. We've got time. It's usually one-on-one, one parent, one child, because they are sleeping in different rooms. So I completely understand why this is the best time of day to get these questions to the surface. I think it takes everything for them to get the courage and get to the state where they're brave enough to ask these questions. I never turn them down, even though it's time to sleep. I will always stay there. It takes 15, 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour until I get to the end of the story and explain everything. But I never turn them down because I appreciate the question. I take pride in the fact that they come to me with their weird questions about the world, about the body, about how everything works, and not to appear, because obviously I can give much better explanations. It's also a sign that they trust me. So every time they ask me something difficult, I do a little happy dance. And it's a sign that, okay, I'm doing something right because they trust me with these questions. All the questions came very naturally. Obviously, I had my first child. In a year and a half, I had my second. So I had 2 under 2, and they were growing together until we had our third child, my daughter. At this stage, my youngest was 3.5, and my eldest was 5. So when they're 3.5 and 5, the question of like, how did the baby get into your tummy? And how is the baby going to come out? Naturally occurs. I didn't force any of those conversations. I decided to give birth at home here in England, and this is a very normal thing to do. The decision was driven by the COVID rules in the hospitals. And because I knew that I am going to be at home and they are going to be at home as well, I had to prepare them for the experience. So this is not trauma. This is something beautiful that they will treasure as an experience for the rest of their lives, because they will get to meet their baby sisters minutes, hours later, depending on what time of the day this is happening. So these conversations occurred in our life very naturally. So here's what I told them about how the baby is going to born. Because the bigger my tummy got, the more pregnant I was, naturally they would be like, how is the baby going to come out? So this is what I said. I said, look, the baby is going to get ready. And when the baby feels ready, then mommy's body is going to get ready as well. And that is going to take a number of hours. During those hours, there is going to be a special slide that is going to magically open up, through which the baby can just slide out. However, this may be a little bit difficult because sometimes the slides are a little bit tighter and sometimes the baby needs to push through it. Imagine if I was sticking you into a slide that was not much larger than your body. You need to wriggle yourself out of there, and that made me a little bit uncomfortable. I told them that mommy may experience some pain. So you could hear me being loud, maybe screaming, but do not worry. There are going to be midwives and daddy who are going to help me through the whole experience. It doesn't hurt the baby. It doesn't hurt mommy too much, but it's a very intense experience because she has to glide out and come into the world. That was the story. I repeated this over and over and over again. And typically the way my children react to new information that they don't understand, it's not something that they're familiar with, the way they react to it is they ask 100 questions and keep repeating the information I told them. So for days and weeks, in their little mind, this information was getting consumed and they were getting more familiar with the concept to the point where they would explain to me how the baby's going to come out. And we would go to places and they would start to explain to strangers how the baby's going to come out. And this was a sign that now they understand what's going to happen. They embraced the information and they are comfortable with it. Because when they stop asking questions and they start telling their own version of it, to me, that meant that they understand it now. And they arrived to a level of comfort where they can talk about it. First, when you're learning about something, you're asking questions, you're trying to internalize it. But once you are ready to teach someone else about what's going to happen, that's like next level, right? Culmination point was when I was in active labor at home. It was about dinner time for them. And one of the midwives left the room. They later told me that my 5-year-old went to them and said, "Oh, we could hear mommy going like that. But we know she's sick. We know you're helping her. And we know the baby's going to slide out soon." Because she told me the louder she gets, probably the baby's like closer to slide out. So we're very excited to meet our baby sister. And the midwife had like a little giggle. And she just said to me, "Your son is absolutely adorable." And the story works. They understand what's going on and they're very excited. They were not scared. They were not worried about the noises they were hearing. Even the next day, my 5-year-old told me, "Mommy, I've been up quite late," even though the babysitter put him to bed. Obviously, he could hear me. And then he said to me that I could hear that you just stopped at some point. So I just assumed Emma was born and you're both fine. So I just went to sleep. And I just thought that was adorable. He understood what's going on. He knew that when the screaming stops, then the baby's born, the baby's laid out, everything's fine. The midwives went away in a couple of hours and it all got quiet and he could drift off to sleep in happiness. And in the morning, when my 2 sons came in to meet their baby sister, I would treasure that memory forever because they were excited, they were happy. It was honestly better than any Christmas morning. And I contribute that to the fact that they understood what was going on. We could not be there to explain anything when we've done all the work beforehand. We told them the truth in a very age-appropriate way. We gave them a month to get prepared for this huge event, for them to understand what is going to happen. And because of that, this was not traumatizing. They were not scared. They slept really well. They were really excited. And we could live this moment as a family in a very happy way that I'll never forget. It's a memory I will treasure forever. Now, obviously, when the baby came, they had more questions about what's happening with my tummy. Why is my tummy still quite big? After the pregnancy, I was having very heavy bleeding. And being home with 3 children, every now and then, they just rumble into the bathroom when you're having your private moments. I think as a mother, having an actual private moment is a challenge of a lifetime. So later on, I ended up teaching them about cycles as well. And I told them that there is a liquid that will come out on the slide. You remember I told you about the slide? So the slide shrinks and it's like a little pipe coming down from near my tummy. And there is a liquid because I explained to them how the baby's formed in the way that I said, you know how we plant seeds in the garden to grow flowers and vegetables. The baby is made in a way that there's a seed from the daddy and there's the soil, the environment from the mommy. And if you put the seed inside, then it's going to grow into a baby. It's exactly like when we're sowing seed into the soil. We're planting the daddy seed into the mommy, and then the baby's formed inside the tummy. So very simplistic explanation. And they were quite happy with that. No questions were asked. And then later I said, every month there is an opportunity for a little seed to be planted inside mommy. And when that doesn't happen, there's like a little liquid that has to come out. It's red. And ultimately they were like, is it blood? And I was like, something similar to blood. It's red. Okay. It's not quite the same as when you cut yourself and you're bleeding. It's similar. It will be red or brown or some dark color. And I called it a goo. I said, a goo comes out, and this is just a wonderful sign that a woman can have a baby. That's what I said about cycles, that this is a wonderful thing because it means that when a woman has it, it means that they have the magical ability to grow a baby inside them. And that was my explanation to it. And this led to very funny conversations later on as well. They had a few more questions about it, but ultimately, my why in being honest with them in an age-appropriate way was that when they are young men later on, I really want them to treat girls and women with respect when they are having their period. I also want them not to feel any amount of disgust or anything negative about it. I want them to understand that this is normal. This is what our body does. The reason why the body does this is quite magical. This is how we create new humans into the world. It's a big deal. I want them to genuinely have this knowledge, have this understanding, and respect women in the future in their lives. Or whatever I tell them at this young age is going to become one of their core beliefs. So I want that core belief to be something very positive, not something negative, inspired or influenced by peers or someone who doesn't understand exactly what's going on here. The next question is, how are babies made? So we had multiple iterations of this. The first one was the seed and the soil, and I put them together and the baby grows. And when they were very little, this was satisfactory for them. They didn't ask any more questions. We just went over the concept a few times. And then we got to the point where they were asking, how does the seed get into the mummy? Okay, how do we answer this? And I always try to give a bit of information to see how much they need to get to the next level of satisfaction with the answer, instead of just either panicking or giving them the whole lot. So I said, let the seed will get in through the pipe, through the tunnel where the goo comes out and where the baby was sliding out. It can open up and then the seed can go in. And that information was enough for the time being. And then one day, and this is where we get to the third topic, I'm doing the bedtime routine and I'm putting my child to sleep. And then I'm about to go out and he's like, can I ask a question? And when this happens, I always just take a deep breath and I'm like, of course you can. I felt that something hard was coming. The question was, I have those two little Benedicts near my wing. What are those? So he was asking me what testicles are for, basically. And I always remain very calm, reiterating the stories we already talked about. I'm thinking how to explain this, because he was like, I think they're not really good for anything. They don't really do anything. What are they for? They don't help me read. I'm like, no, they don't. So I said to him that when you're grown up, you are going to create and store little baby seeds in there. And when they come out and get into a woman, that's how you can make a baby, because they remember that the seed is required to go into the woman to grow into a baby. And then his next question was, okay, and if I'm walking on the street and I sneeze, can they come out and accidentally get into a girl and make a baby? And I said, no, you can be very intentional about when the seeds are going to come out. You're going to know if the seeds come out. And you can also choose the woman, and you need to choose together that you actually want the seeds to go in to be planted and make a baby. So don't worry, it could happen through a sneeze and it's not accidental. And then he did ask how the seed is going to go into a woman. And I said to him, well, first of all, you would have to be naked and you would have to be very close to each other. You probably need to be sleeping in the same bed and give each other a very tight hug. And he looked at me and said, okay, so that's how you and Daddy made me. And I said, yes, that's how you were made as well. A very tight hug. And that, for the time being, it was enough. He was relieved that it could happen through the sneeze. He was really worried about just squeezing and getting someone pregnant. And that was super cute. I think these are very innocent questions. He's very curious about his body. All of my children are. We have a girl and 2 boys. So we talked a lot about why our private parts are different. Why do boys' private parts look different than girls' private parts? We have books around body security. I did teach them about how to treat your body, how nobody can touch it. We taught them about body security and any alarming feelings that you may have inside that lead to a feeling of unsafety, how to deal with that. They know the names of their private parts. We don't really call them any funny names. Some parents call the private parts in funny ways. And if there's a problem and the child is trying to express that problem, no one will understand because there's code names for everything. So we don't do that. We teach them the proper names of things. We just say my private part, and everyone knows what you're referring to instead of funny names, especially in important communication. And I think the most important thing of all is that I really try to teach them that your body belongs to you and no one can have a look or touch without your permission. Not even me, not even a doctor. Okay? You always need to give permission to everyone to touch you anywhere. And we are really careful about this because when you are showing up in the world with a sense of confidence of who you are, how your body looks like, you have a sense of safety inside you because you know what's okay, what's not okay. You understand fundamentals about your own body and you understand things about intimacy and ultimately how babies are made at whatever age you're at. I think this will give our children a better sense of self and a better understanding of others. I wish I had all of this kind of information when I was younger. I really don't want my children to have unrealistic expectations about the human body. I want them to treat other people with respect and have self-acceptance and self-love, especially at a young age. And this applies both to boys and girls. I really do everything I can in my power to get them to a point where they understand their body, to increase the level at which they can accept their own appearance and they can accept their own humanness. Because I feel like there are some people who treat these things as taboo. And because of that, they never talk about it and fail at accepting their own humanness. How they look like, what the body feels like, and all the things that are natural mechanisms. Anyway, since we're talking about this, I'll also say that from the 50 plus parenting books that I've read, if you're just having a baby, one of the fundamental things you can do to ensure that later in life your child will be okay with their body, will be okay with intimacy, and will be able to accept their own humanness is to avoid any kind of shaming about what's inside their nappy. It doesn't matter how much, what color, how it smells. Try to avoid shaming the child because it can traumatize them in a way and make them ashamed of a normal bodily function. And that's not healthy for them, especially not in the long term. So when you're cleaning nappies, when you're cleaning their body, really focus on just presenting this as what it is, the natural function of the body. It sometimes smells, it sometimes does things. It's okay. It's normal. It's natural. And even from the baby phase, if you don't shame them for their natural humanness and whatever their body is doing, is going to help them to grow into an adult who has better intimacy and better acceptance of their own human body. That is the level of imagination that I inserted into the topic, and that is the level of honesty that I have towards my children when it comes to these things. Obviously, they are young and they can ask really tricky questions every now and then. My intention is that, what answers I gave, we will enhance them and modify them according to their age as they are growing. And I'm sure harder questions will pop up. If you'd like to hear my future answers, please drop a comment below and I will make another update video in whatever time frame I can. My intention is that on the day when the light bulb goes up and they fully understand the whole picture of intimacy and relationships, they will have this realization of, oh, I knew this the whole time. It was just presented to me in a different way. It won't come as a shock. It won't come as news. It will be just like, oh, that's what she meant. And I think that would feel so much better than the shock that you can get. That was really intense in my own life. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know this is a tricky topic. I know it can be taboo. And if you're working through your own traumas and your own issues around this topic, there are a few things that I have that could help you. My self-acceptance bundle that is linked below, for example, it's a fabulous tool for you to get to a point where you are loving yourself, accepting yourself exactly where you are right now. And it can help you release a lot of emotion that you're storing inside your body that can cause limiting beliefs, trauma, panic attacks, all of that. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see more videos like this about the way we parent, about how we tackle challenges that come with this age group that we're parenting in the moment or anything in the future, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate you as always, and I will see you on the next one.